call this meeting to order. What's our science sheet? I think Stephanie's on her way. Oh, that's right. Patty has it. Patty's also. Is it perfect? Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead into approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I move to strike officer reports.
Okay. Amy?
I move to strike
BRC.
I move to strike Civil Commission Officer report and funding options.
So you want the funding one? Okay.
The funding and the officer report.
Okay, great. And then do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Lauren. I'm the Assistant Wellness Commissioner and also the Campaign Manager in Office. And I'm proxy for environment.
I move to strike the trout maps.
Okay. Any other amendments? I can entertain a motion anytime. Zach?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
For a second. Second by ladies. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh wait, sorry. Proxies cannot vote. You're welcome to voice anything you like to. Sorry, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against and those abstain. 13-11-0-0 votes. The agenda has been approved as amended. We'll go ahead into approval of the minutes from October 6th. Is there any discussion item regarding these minutes? Nothing regarding minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from October.
Is there a second? Second by Zach. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against and those abstain? 13-11-0-0 vote. The minutes have been approved from October 6th. We'll go ahead into public comment. The first round of public comment will be audio only, so your face will not be shown on USAC Live. You'll have 2 minutes for your public comment. So go ahead and start here. For audio only vote. Okay. Yeah, so now we'll turn USAC Live back on. So this will be for audio and visual public comment. Right here? Yeah. Sorry. So you have 2 minutes, and you will be cut off at
Hi everyone, my name is Ariel. I'm coming here on behalf of Bruins for Israel. Last week was Mental Health Awareness Week, and although this is something that we don't usually do, I wanted to share with you all a personal mental health update about myself. In the past week, there's been a huge spike of terrorism in Israel. I could stand here for hours and tell you about the countless attacks that have happened and tell you the names of the victims, but I won't waste your time. Rather, I'll share with you 3 personal stories. I have a good friend named Paz. She just moved here from Israel a week ago. She had served in the IDF for 7 years. One of her soldiers was just released from her base a few days ago, and as she waited at her bus stop, she was actually rammed into by a car. The person who rammed into her then proceeded to stab her 8 times. She is now in critical condition, and really do hope that you'll pray for her health. Next, I'll share with you the story of our Bell X teen. I grew up with her, went to middle school and high school together. She posted on her Facebook last night that as she dropped off her younger sister at elementary school, just about 10 feet away from where her car was, another individual was stabbed. And lastly, I want to share with you the story of an unnamed 12-year-old Israeli child who was biking through Jerusalem yesterday when suddenly a 13-year-old and 15-year-old terrorists ran up to him and stabbed him. Unfortunately, rather than biking down the street to Jerusalem together, these kids were pitted against each other and unfortunately can't see eye to eye. As a Jewish student, and additionally, I also want to say there was yet another anti-Semitic incident at UC Davis yesterday. As a Jewish student, it's extremely difficult for me to pretend that these 2 incidents aren't related. Because as a Jewish student, what I see is Jewish people being attacked for being Jewish. Tomorrow, between the hours of 10 and 2 p.m., the Jewish community will be gathering in Bruin Plaza as a solidarity event to show our support for the people of Israel and the victims of terror. I would like to personally extend an invitation to you all to please come and show your support for us. I know it'll really mean a lot to my community. Thank you.
We'll keep going along for public comment. Public comment? Okay, last call. Alright, seeing none, we'll close public comment at 7:07. We'll go straight into special presentations. So we have
have a presentation on the student regent of the OVED. So obviously I don't need this too, but just a reminder, you have 15 minutes for your special presentation, and then you'll have 5 minutes for questions from the council. I'll let you know when we have about 12 minutes left, or is it so you can be aware of your time.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much for having me here today. It's really thrilled to be back in Kirkhoff 417. For those of you that I don't know or that I haven't met, my name is Avi Obed. I'm the current UC student regent. And 2 years back, I sat over there and served as ILP, so good times. So what is the purpose of my presentation today? First and foremost is to reintroduce myself in this capacity as student regent to you all. And also give you a high-level overview of the different agendas that I have in plan that I plan to carry out during my term. And finally, is to get to know, each of you, the individual initiatives that you all have as council members and as offices and as a collective council together. I really want this to be as interactive as possible, so please, if you need clarification or a question pops up to your mind, just raise your hand and let me know, and we'll stop and discuss. So I have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to try to get to this quickly. So the Board of Regents, I did want to contextualize a little bit the Board of Regents and the student regent position in my relation with the board, and how does that, affect you. So first and foremost, the Board of Regents is a 26-member voting board. 18 of them are 12-year term appointments made by the governor. 7 of them are ex officio. And that means that position that you hold allows you to sit on that board. So that includes the UC president. That includes the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker of the state assembly, the superintendent of public instruction, and the vice president and president of the UC Alumni Association. And then lo and behold, you have the single student representative, the student regent, a representative of 246,000 students across the 10-campus system, both undergrad, grad, and professional. Statewide. And so what is the job of the student regent? So I believe each student regent has a different interpretation of what that means. I think it's representing the students' interests within every tier of leadership of the UC. As you all know, UC is a thick bureaucracy. You have a lot of loops and holes to navigate, a lot of admin to navigate through and work with. It's really a critical position to effectuate tangible change, especially within the 2-year term that you have as student regent. Maybe that's that. Okay. Well, this is a nice little corny timeline of the former student regents in the past, made by Ariel, who's actually my chief of staff. She's absolutely wonderful and is literally the driving engine of this office. There am I. And then you have Marcela Ramirez, who's a PhD student at UC Riverside. She's absolutely incredible, so smart, super perceptive, and she's going to be an excellent student regent this year and next. So what's so special about the student regent position? I think that it has 3 key elements. It has distinct access to information and data that no one else has. You're an official trustee of the university. So no one can tell you that they can't forward you information, you can't get a meeting with X, Y, and Z, because they are actually required and mandated to follow through with you. Secondly, you have the ability to sit on the board for 2 years, sustain and develop key critical relationships with not only regents, but also UCOP administration, and learn how to navigate the bureaucracy of the UC. And thirdly, I believe that the student regent is there to serve as the moral compass of the Board of Regents and really grounds the governors of our institution and remind them why they're here. I think I met a UC Davis student who really put this magically. He said, students, we pay to be here, and as everybody else pays, or we pay them to be here, and students pay to be here. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic of how we should view the university. Oh, thank you. Okay, so I do want to touch upon 3 different initiatives that I'm going to carry out during my term. First and foremost, middle income affordability, which is something really important for me and for a lot of students on our campuses. Last year, with the debate between the UC and the state, we had a lot of discussion about tuition increases. The UC has a really progressive and robust financial aid policy that covers students who have a family income of $80,000 or less. Their tuition is completely covered. That's not to say that their housing and their living expenses are covered, but for them that is subsidized. So that tuition increase would have been protected from that financial aid policy. Middle income students are the ones that don't make enough to actually afford to be here, but make too much to not qualify for any financial aid. So there were studies conducted within UC Berkeley, UC Davis, and across the UC about food pantries. We're seeing a growing need of food security. Housing insecurity is becoming a huge issue. It's all been an issue, but now it's starting to be the focus. And we're seeing that students, middle-income students, are the ones that are using the food pantries more regularly. Middle-income students are the ones that are living in cars for 4 years. A student in Westwood that's already been graduated. There are students who are showering in our gyms. So we really need to really ask the question, being a student, is it really worth it getting an education if you're just trying to survive? What worth is your education? So right now I'm compiling a framework of what I plan to do in the coming year. Is to first and foremost define a middle income band. Current UC policy does not define middle income, what that means. We only know that low income to UC is defined as $80,000 or less. So first and foremost, making sure that we have that definition. Secondly, is understanding what resources we have at each and every UC to support our middle income students. UC Berkeley and UC Davis currently has a middle class scholarship. UCLA, I know it's underway, I think with the Centennial campaign, but it's not there yet. So we really want to make sure what we have available to our students currently. And I hope to charge the university by May to create a middle income affordability initiative within each university so that we're at a certain baseline of support for our students. And, you know, on a personal note, I'm here because of a middle income scholarship. This would not have been an opportunity for me, so I'm very grateful. Secondly, statement of principle against intolerance. This has actually been an issue that, fell into our laps with diversity initiatives and campus climate issues that we're witnessing across not only UCLA, but across the UC system. So just a little bit of context. Last year there was a lot of hostility and a lot of conversations about anti-Semitism, and that's what geared this discussion to the Board of Regents. And they were supposed to adopt a policy in July. And I asked that we delay that decision so that we make it a more inclusive statement, really condemning and also supporting our students, condemning acts of bigotry and discrimination, and also supporting our students who will offset the fall victims of that, unfortunately. Because currently I believe that our administration doesn't have the credibility to really protect our students with a moral consistency. So I think we really need to get down and dirty and really understand what we need to do to protect our students. So one thing that's really important for you all to know is that October 26th, the working group of the Regents are going to be here on campus. I think it might be in Cobell. The dates have not been confirmed, so the meeting place has not been confirmed. But we're going to be here from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to listen to anybody and everybody that wants to come in and voice their opinion or concern or share materials that they want us to consider when we're drafting the statement of principles against intolerance. So I think this is huge, especially for a council. Y'all should, take advantage of it. If Regents are coming to your campus and you want to make sure that you're leading the way in the campaign, making sure that students are really involved. I know that UC Santa Barbara, UC Riverside, UC Irvine are planning to have delegations come. So this is really a big deal. We're going to be there for a long time. So not only would I appreciate your comments and thoughts, but I would also appreciate your comments. That would be fun. Yes? October 26th. It's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I can forward you an official link so that you can, I'll forward it on to Heather so she can forward it to council. That's a statement of principles against intolerance. And I do want to speak to the issue of a lot of people talking about academic freedom and freedom of speech versus protecting our students, and I really resent the notion that people would reduce the conversation to it being a zero-sum game versus protecting our students and maintaining our academic integrity. I don't think that's the case. I think we can protect academic freedom and freedom of speech, but also make sure that our students don't have to fear stepping onto their campus. That's ridiculous. So I'm passionate about this. If you want to talk about it with me on an individual basis, I would love to, and really, talk to you about anything that is on here or anything that you're working on within your offices too. And then thirdly, student advisor. So this is kind of my baby. And a lot of students have taken the lead to bring this forward. Zach, and the Heathers, Heather Square, so student advisor, what is the point, what is the purpose? So we're trying to establish an additional student seat on the Board of Regents. So like I said before, we have 246,000 students we have 2 seats on the board, the region, student region and the student region designate, and only 1 vote. We are the largest stakeholders of the UC community, yet we have the most limited access to the board. And so we want to strengthen that. And this has been a campaign for years. And I think that, 40 years since the inception of the student region, I think it's about time to start revisiting the conversation about adding more students into the governance of this university. So what the student advisor is, which I believe you're having a resolution about tonight, and I'll be here for that discussion, so I can, be more than happy to contribute. Well, not 12 minutes. Alrighty then. So the student advisor position essentially serves as a complementary educational perspective to the incoming student regions. So what we want to do is ensure that we're having a holistic set of representation on the board, so that we can speak to and have more informed discussions about issues of affordability, housing security, academic integrity, and the different disciplines that our students interact with at their individual campuses. It's mind-boggling. It's really hard for a single student to focus on so many issues and be effective at the same time. We only have limited bandwidth. And you all know that being leaders of dynamic offices yourselves. So I'll talk more about that, or answer any questions that you may have about that specifically. I guess I can skip over. Okay, so stay in contact with me. I am here. You have the best access to me. I see this position not as a position, but I actually see it as a platform for students to really bring awareness to issues that they care about and organize around those issues. And so I want to open my office door to you all. I'm actually downstairs, currently the 2nd floor, in Kirkhoff. And so first and foremost, you can keep updated with the student region Facebook page. It's really easy to find. You can keep updates. I share articles and fun facts related to the UC. My email is obed.abraham@gmail.com. So whenever you want to hit me up for whatever reason, please feel free to do so. And then if you want to text me or call me, my number is 818-807-0712. Just so that you feel free to reach out to me whenever possible, so that I can be a resource to you. So I guess that really concludes my fast presentation about what I hope to accomplish within the year, how I reintroduce myself, and that you take advantage of it, and that I get to learn more about you. So do you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything else?
Yeah, well, we'll do 5 minutes for questions. Anyone have any questions?
No questions?
Reveal the final language of these different principles and presented to the regions.
Okay, cool. So we had our first working group last Monday at UCLA. We sort of discussed the timeline, and that's when we actually decided to have a town hall at UCLA on October 26th. So the working group is going to be meeting twice in between those, meeting twice to actually work on the actual language that establishes protocol, policy, and response to issues of discrimination and bigotry. And so we're hoping to have the language finalized by the end of January and introduce it to the Board of Regents in March so that it will be adopted.
Like what you do in the future with the student advisor position, is there a chance that you all would work towards creating another student region position so you have more voting power with the student?
Absolutely. So an issue that I walked into this position with was the lack of foundation framework supplied by former student regions. So what we all have is an issue of council turnover or leadership turnover where we build momentum throughout the year, and then by the time we're almost there, we're out and we can't do anything. So we introduced the shared governance initiative, which is a multi-pronged approach, and sort of it carves out our game plan for the coming year. So it's a guided document that informs students where we're at in the progress of increasing student representation. So it's a 4-pronged approach. First and foremost is to establish a student advisor position. Second is to look at the current mechanisms we have in place that we have voices to the board and better the access to them, and make them more effective in nature. Thirdly is to convene a committee on student life, so that we really demand the attention of students of the Board of Regents and UCOP administration, so that we can cite issues on the ground to a region level, so that we are making the Board of Regents more proactive rather than reactive. So a committee on student life, and that will hopefully be one of the standing committees that the Board of Regents operates through. And then fourthly is laying out the framework for a student campaign, a constitutional amendment, which is required to add another voting student regent to the board. So The California Constitution, if it needs to be amended, you are required to run a campaign. So there's specific timelines and deadlines that you must introduce language to Sacramento. You have to build a campaign and usually you have the funding for it. It can be a multi-million-dollar campaign, honestly. So it all talks about that in that initiative. So I can forward that to you all as well, so you know. And if you have any suggestions or thoughts, forward them to me so that we can include them.
Any other questions? None. Thank you so much, Audrey, for Thank you. Okay, next up we have for the Bird experiment. So if you all want to come to the front of the room. And you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation. I'll let you know in about 12 minutes left, and then you get 5 minutes for questions from the council. All right.
All right. So,
Actually, put this on that side.
okay. All right, everyone. I just wanted to start off by thanking you for sharing some of your time with us and allowing us to talk about our endeavor. My name is Daniel Hines, and I'm actually the president and co-founder of the Experiment.
My name is Michael Minchkow. I am an executive council member and the treasurer of the Experiment.
So we're here to talk to you guys about an endeavor actually founded on campus last year. And what we aim to do is inspire scientific curiosity in the youth through the orchestration of self-initiated science fairs. So what we do is we go to these schools without these other mentors to host their own science fairs, and we help host one for them as a means to hopefully inspire them to view science in the context far removed out of the tough textbook classroom, something that they can actually enjoy doing, and hopefully to inspire a future associated with science.
So how do we do it? We do something every quarter here at UCLA. We recruit college-age volunteers that seek out schools to collaborate and raise funding. We get sources of funding from UC and non-UC funds. Last year was our first year, and we relied strictly on funds granted to us from UC. But we have scheduled over 40 interviews and plan to accept around 30 applicants, making a total of 40 total members, including our 10 we already have. And we also have 85 students from a total of 2 underserved schools, which is really exciting. That's more than double what we had last year. During winter, it's our busiest quarter. We begin the programming working hand in hand with the students. We travel to the underserved schools and foster positive relationships and assisting them in teaching them the scientific method and helping them build their own unique science fair experiment. That's about a 10-15 week period. And the volunteers will visit the partner schools and work with the students hand in hand. That is something that's far removed from what students usually experience in the textbook classroom. Now in spring, we invite our participating students at the schools that we visited to come to UCLA. We give them a personalized tour. It's really exciting. The kids are so excited to come to school and see how amazing UCLA is. And then it's followed by a Bruin Science Fair held in Academy's Grand Ballroom. This is an excellent opportunity for the students to share ideas with each other and discuss their projects and make their parents proud.
Yeah, so just to recap, in fall we start off with recruiting and whatnot. As you were saying, we're actually we dipped into UC funds over the past 2 years. This year, actually, with the help of Lori Feldman, the fundraiser for Big Brothers Big Sisters, we're actually starting to appeal to private funders. Then during the winter, the bulk of our process where we go and we start off with introduction, and every week we go into the students, and every week we work on the next step of the scientific method with the students, all culminating in Grand Science Fair and the Grand Ballroom, where they can come and make their parents proud as used. So last year, as I was saying before, was actually our first year. And we started off with a school called Lisa's. We started with 32 students over there. And there were actually some phenomenal results. We had 150 people turn up for our science fair, despite it due to poor foresight being on Easter and Passover. We had 150 people attend, including UCLA's professor of biochemistry, Heather Tiensen, and other associated staff. And there were some phenomenal results. Honestly, I've been involved in the science my entire life, and it exceeded my wildest expectations. I mean, these are middle school students, and one of them, just to cite a few, one of them tested the effects of alpha, beta, and gamma radiation on accelerated E. coli growth. This was an 8th grader. Another student tested, the first place prize winner, actually did a beautiful project. She tested for the presence of pesticides in organic versus non-organic foods. I'll tell you guys, organic foods, they have pesticides, contrary to popular belief. Another student, one is actually not on here, one of my favorites, was a student named William, who tested something called Benford's Law. And when I ask people, when I promote a group experiment at an Orcs Activities Fair, I like to ask, like, you know, the biggest, like, nerdiest engineers, like, okay, like, do you know what Benford's Law is? And the truth is, no one knows it. I didn't know myself. When this 7th grader told me he wanted to do a project on this, I actually had to go out of my way to research Benford's Law to help him do it. You guys are wondering what it is, tell me later, I'll do it. So yeah, we turned out over 50 people. It was unreal, it was an emotional experience. There were winners and whatnot. They came, we took pictures after, and they were so fond of the experience that I'm still in contact with some of them. In fact, I just recently contacted some of them to get the poster awards because I'm going to use them as examples for this year's science fair. One of the students who worked with us is actually currently making our website, which is unreal. I mean, these are real students who are making a website for us. And then at the end of the science fair, a lot of the parents, they approached us and they said, this is amazing, please do it again. So that's exactly what we planned to do.
So this year, LACES is returning, and they want us to come back and teach 40 new students to participate in the group experiment again. We also reached out to the intellectual rival of LACES, a school named Palms. They did not only agree to participate with us, but they also would be holding their own selection process of 45 of their brightest students. So the reason for including both of these schools, the intellectual rival, is we're hoping that it will foster creative competition, so the students will come up with even greater projects than last year. And yeah, that's.
So our upcoming plans for this quarter, we are currently recruiting members. Like we said before, we actually have 30 interviews, 30 to 40 interviews over the next couple of weeks. We're still accepting applications. We're scheduled to visit both places in Palms for the next couple of weeks to make an orientation presentation. And we're actually planning to form a collaboration with the UCLA Chemistry Club called SMACS. They're going to be helping to make cool explosions for us. And we're actually having our first annual retreat. I heard that USAC has their own awesome retreat. We're going to be having our own annual retreat in efforts to foster a sense of community and teamwork. And then we're also preparing for the upcoming winter quarter where the bulk of our work happens, where we actually go and work with these students week by week on their projects.
So why are we here? We want to know how you guys can help. So really, pretty much anything. We're a brand new organization on campus. We have a great idea, and if you could help us in your corresponding communities involved in spreading the word, we believe that this is really a self-selling idea. We participated during the summer in orientation for new incoming students, as well as our booth at the Enormous Activities Fair. Everyone seemed really excited about what we had planned for this year, and we're growing rapidly. So immediate shout out promoting our Denver or our Facebook page. It's a link up here. We also can be found searching the Brew Experiment. There's no spaces. And there's also an application link. We're still actively looking for members that are devoted and trying to get exciting science out to the kids. So anything that you can think of that helps spread the word would be really appreciated.
So yeah, as he was saying, I mean, an enormous activities there. I mean, we reached out to a lot of students, and really any student. I mean, we have people from like English and art majors applying to sciences that are really. This is really a self-selling endeavor. Everyone benefits from it. The people who participate, you know, it's a great time. You're hanging out with kids. You're inspiring science and curiosity. You're doing something good. The kids love it. I mean, they feel so cool when a bunch of college dudes and girls like show up and they're like, all right, let's do science, and then we throw out the whole science for them. So really, what we're bottlenecked by is how many people just hear the thing. And so that's why we're here. We want your guys' help. You know, USAC, you guys have a large reach into the school, fortunately, and we need your help spreading the word. So To do that, if you need help, feel free to call me, anyone, text me, I'm always available, I can always answer questions. My email is also on there if you'd like. I know those 2 links are probably not the easiest thing to write down very quickly. So you can just shoot me an email or text, and I'll send you both those links. I can even send you a pitch, I prepare myself, and you could format it in any way you like, make a Facebook status, tell people to go like to our Facebook page. We actually have a thing going on right now where we post a meme of the day for Facebook, like some scientific meme, a way to appeal to the general audience of the world. So yeah, our information's right there. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. And then I guess I can open the table now for everyone.
Any questions? Zach?
Other than recruitment, I worked in a very similar thing, except human rights, not science, before I I know that sounds weird, but like we, did outreach to schools and connected students with human rights education is very powerful and work in that. So, do you foresee any obstacles to expansion other than recruitment? And if so, what are those obstacles and is there a way to change conflicts?
To be honest, no, it's a very good question. There have always been obstacles, especially in the first year. When I first came here, I was kind of like making my way through a maze in the dark. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know how to mostly pull my transit members and applying. I mean, my advisor, I don't know if you know Luna, helped us tremendously. This year, the process has become more streamlined. I would say the only other bottleneck we have to expand with UCLA is funding. And the reason I say that with a little tinge of reluctance is because funding hasn't yet been established. In fact, we've only just heard of the CAC fund. We have a CPC fund we're waiting on, we have a SU fund, we're about to find a phase UCLA fund, we're about to find a CSP fund. So if you're saying that there would be a way that USAC can help with funding, then I would be more than open to have help with that. There's always more ways to expand this project and make it better.
The Bruin Defenders program is establishing sort of a grant writing team for not only for internal office stuff, but also for people that do Bruin Defenders type work. And so later in the year, that's something to look into is if you need help with.
They help with grant projects?
Yeah.
Excellent.
It was just fun.
Okay, cool. Is it cool if I come up here again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Okay. I don't know if you'll remember, but I actually touched base with at the Northern Texas Fair.
Okay.
And I presented the idea of we're all working with other organizations like UCLA. And so I can definitely get you in touch with them. But actually, a lot of the projects with the community program office that are access education projects do a lot of the same stuff, but don't have as much science-based foundation.
But how much is what?
Of a science-based foundation. And I think that would be really cool, because especially, so for example, like Tom Filipino mentioned facility and acquisition, we have all have projects that outreach to the additional space for and even like close by hospitals in the area. And they have different sites that they've been going to for their seniors and we're really developing with them. And I think it'd be really cool for you all to pair up with them and like outreach them, because I know they're constantly looking to like read me out to the curriculum every year. And actually I just looked at Change, which is not actually a UCLA project, and they're working to find like optimize kind of activities to get involved. And especially those communities that are like historically marginalized and underrepresented, they have like the least funding within their school, and the lowest amount of students who are applying for science-based programs, even in higher education. So I think this would be really cool.
Cool. Well, that actually brings two things to mind. First of all, like I mentioned, maybe I didn't express it before, but our school, the fact that it does deal with underserved, the fact that we own a program here, the fact that we only work with underserved schools, means we actually do work with a lot of minorities.
Yeah.
We have statistics somewhere I didn't bring into this presentation, first off. Second off, just one more thing to add to your bottleneck question. Actually, when we went to Palms, we spoke briefly about them making some sort of a selection process. They actually have 2,000 students in their middle school, and I offered them 40, and they begged me 45. And then they said, if we have 2 students doing one project, could we have like more students? The point I'm driving is that I feel like supply is demand is slowly starting to exceed supply. So as you can see, our biggest bottleneck is just getting academic students. which is why that's weird, right?
I think, sorry, working with like those programs, they already have a huge staff. So that would kind of help.
That does sound amazing, it help us out with outreach, so I'm gonna come get you information as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna write this right now.
Excellent, much appreciated.
The last question.
Oh, thank you for coming in and telling us about this awesome program. I think it's astonishing how far it's come in a short amount of time you've been at UCLA. And I hope it doesn't fade away once you graduate. And so that brings me to my question. What do you see as your long-term goals and aspirations for the program?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, and thank you for the kind words. Well, first off, in terms of fading away once I leave, rest assured that's not going to happen. We were actually already established who's going to be the next president, who's going to be the next VP. We've already had everything handled in that situation. In addition, I'm also planning to UCLA Medical School, so if I do get in there, then I do try to stay involved. In terms of the long-term goal, we actually have some awesome stuff coming up. So, in terms of regional, in California, we want to actually add on one school every year. So last year was one school, this year is 2 schools. We want to go to 5, 6 schools, make it some sort of either like greater Los Angeles area or the California science fair. And ideally, once we have maybe 500, a school of 500 students, doing the science fair, we want to send maybe the top 2 or 3 projects to the nationals, to Google and whatnot. Now that's expanding, I guess, like you could call it vertically. We're also expanding horizontally. I haven't really even told my own group about this, but as of right now, my friend in Santa Barbara just created a TBE, which is the Gaucho experiments. And he's going to be doing it over there. He's already established the organization and everything. And the way I think about this, when I think of expansion, is, as I was saying before, this is a self-selling idea. There is no reason why every single college in the country couldn't do this with the local underserved schools in the area. As I said before, everyone benefits. The mentors get to have fun. They get to do something good with the students, and they're inspired for science. So slowly but surely, in the foreseeable future, we plan to not only expand within our own school, within our own area, but also have other schools expand in our own area.
Thank you so much for your applause. Before I send a poll to Heather, just maybe like if you have a logo or something, do you want us to include in the post up your student center or something so we can copy and paste it? Sure. That way never come in else.
Awesome, I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go into our appointments. So we have one of the personality judicial board. I'll have Heather read the description of the position and her ARC review. Just a heads up, this appointment, the judicial board is good for their career here at UCLA. So she's very good to be for this year.
All right, Judicial Board. The Judicial Board is the judicial branch of the Undergraduate Student Association. Judicial Board justices review petitions for hearings, hear cases, and determine constitutional issues. Justices serve on the J Board for the duration of their tenure as UCLA undergraduate students in good standing to a maximum of 4 years. So Genevieve received a 3-0-0 vote of approval, and some notes that we had about her interview were that she did her research on the different previous J-Board cases. She was well versed in judicial board processes, and we thought it was important to be critical of the judicial board.
All right, thank you so much. So Genevieve, Jefferson, you can come right up here. You'll have 1 minute for your introduction, followed by 5 minutes of questions from the council, and 1 minute for your closing. So I'll be starting whenever you're ready to speak.
Okay. Hello, Council. Thank you for your time and for this opportunity. My name is Genevieve Javadzad, and I'm a 3rd-year English major and Global Studies minor. I'm applying to get the appointment for Judicial Board Justice because for 2 years at UCLA, I've been on the side following the cases. My interest has been sparked over time more and more, and I've really grown a passion for law and creating a campus environment where students feel safe to voice their concerns and bring it to the judicial board if they feel an injustice has been served to them. So now I want to become part of that process, because it's one thing to be outside and uninvolved, watching, and now I want to be directly involved, actively making a difference on this campus and making students feel safe and comfortable whenever they feel uncomfortable to voice that. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go into questions from the council. Ruby?
Hi, so what changes did you make to the judicial board in terms of the structure and some of the things that were done?
I actually don't have any changes I'd like to make. I think that judicial board is already a very strong organization and unbiased, and very graceful in the way that they present their opinions 2 weeks after they have made it. The only thing I would change is maybe clarifying reasons for why there would be a closed session or why there would be a private session. So that's like a minor thing.
How do you hope to use like your experience like on judicial board like after you graduate from UCLA?
After I graduate from UCLA, I plan on applying to law school, and I feel like the experiences I would gain on judicial board would really help me in that environment, because not only do I have aspirations to practice law, but eventually, hopefully in the future, I could become a judge in Los Angeles County. So this is an invaluable experience that I don't think I could get anywhere else as an undergraduate.
Any other questions?
Hi, my name's Anais. So how do you balance the schoolwork in comparison to judicial work?
I already have very, I think, strong time management skills, and I'm able to balance my classes with my other extracurriculars, like being on the board of the Pre-Law Society and also working as a file clerk at a law firm currently. So I already balance those well and find enough extra time in my week to relax, spend extra time honing my papers and like other homework assignments. So I feel like this would fit perfectly into my schedule and time.
So judge gets to decide which cases they'll hear and which cases they don't. So as a justice, what will you look for in such a case?
Well, in the petition for consideration, the petitioner has to write if it's in the jurisdiction of the judicial board to hear this case. So based on that, if the case has merit, we would look at those and look if we, as judicial board, can hear this case if it's under our jurisdiction. That was very repetitive, sorry.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into your 1 minute closing.
Okay, so I just wanted to thank you all for this opportunity again, and I hope I have your vote. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now round 5.
You will be discussing your appointments. You're welcome to stay present or keep the work being outside.
We'll go into discussion. Any points of discussion regarding the appointment? Also, sorry, before we start, we do need 2/3 vote to approve a judicial appointment. Check.
So that depends on my question. But each of you offers meeting perspective on judicial questions. It has an opportunity to learn more about the law, and more we can see so we'll apply that to your future career. One thing you need to take advantage of is just being a first commissioner and learning more about it for just the law service. Learning that you said there's a ton of opportunities, and it's really great when students utilize these opportunities to leverage their UCLA degree to go on to some sort of post-graduate success. So that's one of the positive.
Yeah, I think given the ARC's research of the vote, the fact that she demonstrates a clear and strong command over the UCLA judicial process, she has no lack of passion for the law, given her previous extracurricular that sounds like phenomenal appointment, so I would move to approve her with that delay for judicial board.
I would like to make a comment.
You would like to make a comment?
Yes, and I really go ahead.
We'll continue discussion, then we'll call into question to go into the vote.
I've had the good fortune of knowing Genevieve since kindergarten, all the way to high school, and I find it amazing that we find ourselves at UCLA once again, and I've seen her thrive in her academics as well as her extracurriculars. I remember in high school she was part of the cross-country club, cross-country team, and the track and field team, and she started a club there, and as well as like receiving, I forget exactly what the award was that had to do with her being an outstanding calculus student. And so I'm very proud and I feel very comfortable with her as a traditional work.
So,
Seeing that we have struggled with a well-rounded, traditional-minded candidate, I move to all questions.
Okay. So we'll call the question, so we'll have a vote to, can I get a second to the call of question? Okay, all right, so just a reminder for everyone, so we'll vote on the call of question, then we'll go into the actual vote. Okay, so Heather second to call of question, so all those in favor of the call of question? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, now we'll go into the actual vote, so can I get a motion?
I move again to approve Genevieve to the UCLA Undergraduate Student Association Leadership Board.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ian, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against, and those that abstain. I should 11 to do with your Okay, we'll go into our officer recruitment. Okay, so I go first. So this past week, I had a meeting with Tony Sandoval, who is the director of the Community Programs Office. We're just kind of touching base on different ways that CPO and USAC can work together. Specifically, we're kind of have a lot of collaboration through the food security work group, which we've already been involved in. Zach's part of that, Marvin's part of that, as well as myself and my directors. So it's really great to kind of hear also about his experiences at UCLA. UCLA as an undergraduate, and he's been here pretty much ever since. So it's great to kind of hear his perspective on certain things, especially regarding spatial issues, which he's very passionate about, looking at the space allocations of different buildings and everything. I also had a phone call with Bob Michaels, which some of you may remember, he was the president in 1967, I think. Right there? 65, one of the odd numbers in the 1960s. But he came to council and talked to us. He was president back then. So just kind of touching great base. He's also the president of the alumni of USAC presidents. So he would say there's a meeting in 2017, that's exciting. Most on how we get more alumni engagement, specifically with internships. He founded the Alumni Internship Network, which he was also one of the big advocates for the CAPS program, which took students to Washington, D.C., which maybe some of you have done that. So he was one of the reasons that actually got started. And so they're coming up on 50 years of the Internship Alumni Network. So they will be having something towards the end of the year with all of the alumni who had internships when they were graduates. I had a meeting on Friday with the Community Service Commissioners, Directors, and Chief of Staff regarding food security. And so I'm sure Zach will go more over what CSC is doing in regards to food during week 7. We talked about different ways we're going to collaborate. We also talked about what we can do for the council-wide initiative. I look forward to talking to you all more about that during the retreat. We kind of came up with some ideas about different offices kind of insert themselves into it. I know some of you are already doing a lot of great work. I know Holly is obviously doing a lot of great work with her team, I love. And so we'll kind of be different ways for some of you to kind of get a creative insertion into it, as well as not necessarily tell you what to do, but rather kind of give you some ideas and see what you'd be passionate about helping out with this initiative. I also had a meeting last week with my campus climate directors. So there are 2 in my office. They probably will be working with all of you during the year, considering some of the things we have going on. In regards to the instance from last week, we'll talk about that more so later. My directors and I are kind of waiting back to kind of see what Appalachian Union or other communities that are affected by this want to do and support their initiatives as opposed to trying to overstep that. That Amy and Trent will be all talking about later. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of speaking at the Community Program Office Welcome Back banquet. Their theme of the overall banquet was about food justice, which was perfect. As I talked about how we're going to collaborate with the Community Programs Office, and they're all very excited to work with all of us. Tomorrow, I have a call with Christina Harley. She was the woman who's in charge of the Power Education Hub, which is bringing 5th graders to campus.
They have reached a little bit of a roadblock in contacting Michelle Obama, so hopefully get some more updates on that. I just want to know that she's still being in touch and everything, but they have been slowed down a little bit in the process. That's why you haven't heard too much about it. Also today I had a meeting with a member from the graduate, she's a PhD in education, regarding the diversity caucus. This is a group of faculty, staff, and graduate students, and one thing we want to do is on November 5th, have a diversity town hall with Jerry Collin and have him be more of a keynote speaker. They also want to get about 500 students from undergrad and graduate level and have a little more small roundtable discussions, as well as have this keynote speaker and have more facilitated conversations and select topics. There will be serving dinner at this event, and this is something that she'd really love to see USAC in its entirety participate, whether that be us all being there, getting our cheesy staff, our members of our offices, as well as like friends, people we know, different organizations to come out and say, well, we make this really, really big. 300 plus students from the graduate and undergraduate level, which is also a great opportunity for us to meet some of the graduate students as well as the Graduate Student Association Council. GSA is voting on how much funding they want to give to this event tomorrow. And she's going to contact me and see if there's any way that we can also help perhaps financially, since this is a very, very important event in light of recent events especially as well. So you'll probably hear more about that if we decide to do a 5-day discretionary. We can talk more about that. We can learn exactly what our feedback and everything. And I believe that is all that I have for my officer report. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to our internal vice president. All right, mine is kind of brief. In light of all of the security issues, both off campus and on campus, and the Bruin alert system not providing information in a timely fashion, I did email Arthur Kirkland from the Office of Emergency Management today, and I'm hoping to schedule a meeting within the upcoming week. He is also a member of the Campus Safety Alliance. I've met with him previously last year, and I remember during spring quarter, one of his office's initiatives were to expedite the process to improve, the response time of, the Bruin alert system, and clearly it's still slow. So I'm going to see if there's, a way for us to expedite this process, or if there's, an alternative solution to getting information out to students that is timely and is up to date and accurate. Because it would be irresponsible to provide, information to students that wasn't accurate. So lots of factors at play, but that's something that I'm going to be working with him on. And also, I will be meeting with Logan tomorrow to talk about the funding website. It's week 3, so the student deadline passed October 2nd. So I just kind of want to meet with him and see the problems that the website ran into, see how we can kind of work on improving those different issues and see how we can move forward on this project. Are there any questions for the internal vice president? I think we'll go on to the external vice president.
Great. So tomorrow for lunch, several members of my office, Ray Martinez, so we're going to provide that. They're really integral to the advocacy process in my office, and then also the president and interim vice president and the student region will be joining. We'll all come together for a meeting at Clark Park tomorrow, who is the senior advisor to Governor Jerry Brown and one of the most powerful people in the state. And it's a really, it's a really important meeting. We're really excited to sort of bridge the gap between the students in the governor's office and look forward to closer collaboration on issues with which we have mutual interest. So it's very exciting. I'll update you on that next week. SB 376 was vetoed on Friday, which, as you know, I was advocating for a veto or a veto with amendments. But I want to take some time to recognize that the veto of SB 376, while a significant victory, also points to a more fundamental issue, right, which is that the legislator ultimately sort of pitted two vulnerable groups of people, students and workers, against each other in a battle for funding. And
we resent that, and we want to make sure that workers are conscious of our commitment to them in the same way that they've shown commitment to us. So we're looking at sort of creating an internal office project on advocacy for workers' rights, particularly with respect to student workers, because often the two groups aren't usually exclusive, and overlap quite a bit, particularly with respect to work study, and we're looking at that on the federal level as well. So our suspicions that HEA, the Higher Education Act, was going to come forward in some way as a consequence of the sunset Perkins loans that we getting moved on, was at least to an extent correct, and to our knowledge, working groups on drafting a new Higher Education Act for reauthorization are beginning to commence very soon, and so my office will be sending representatives to affect those working groups, and we're talking with our friends in the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, and our friends in the House Education and Workforce Committee to be a part of that, and those discussions are going well. We followed up on HR 1713, which is the bill to establish employer-backed contributions. It's the bill that allows employers to pay down student loans on behalf of the student in exchange for tax credit, which has a lot of bipartisan support after we brought it back up, and it's now starting to make progress against installment in April, and we're very proud of that. We are hoping to, and feel free to provide some input into the coming months, but we're hoping to convene something to the effect of a Bruin delegation that's Bruin alumni, stakeholders, people that directly represent us who are elected officials, and bring them all together, federal, state, even local. And we want to have part of it certainly be sort of an open forum where anyone can express ideas and views, but also take some time for a close work session with student leaders so we can have a really honest discussion about how we can collaborate in the coming year and really get some stuff done. And we're making progress on sort of setting that up, inviting people. Yeah, I reiterate the issue with Bruin Alert, and to whatever extent we can be support, let's support Heather to fix that, because clearly that's an issue. And on that note, it's been a horrifying week of gun violence across the nation, and it's been made clear to me, both on a personal level and from a variety of people, and that gun violence isn't now, and probably for a long time, hasn't been less than a student issue. This is an issue that affects students, and today and in the past, many of us were afraid to go to Westwood because someone was carrying around a gun. And other than the threats that he made, let's recognize for a moment that he was perfectly within his rights to carry a gun around Westwood and terrify all of us. And I think that it should be said that my office should be participating in some effort to stand on the side of gun violence in this nation. And we're going to be looking at ways to collaborate across the country to take on that fight. Because it's anything to this point feels too little too late. Something has to be done. And that's the explanation.
Any questions?
We'll go on to the Acting First Commissioner report, CSG Wells Commissioner, Resource Commissioner.
Hello. For some of these things, we'll be doing a special presentation in a couple weeks to give you a little more information to share with your offices and your networks. But first off, we have coming up November 7th, our Day of Service event, which is kind of like a volunteer day, part 2. So we have different sites around the LA community that students are able to sign up for and actually pick the signing issue that they are passionate about and that they want to go out and do. So we do have signups online for that through the communityservicecommission.org and on our Facebook page, as well as our alternative breaks applications are out. So for those of you that don't know, we have an alternative breaks program here at UCLA. So during spring break, students sign up to go and go over spring break and somewhere. A lot of sites here in California, we have one in New Orleans, one in Georgia that address different issues relating to the community so students can get involved early. And then the hopes is that they go out and do that service and they come back and get involved in some type of service project here at UCLA. Additionally, we are the first time ever CSC is having an internship process. We're calling it a fellowship as well. That's inspired by Eric's such passion for fellows. So we do have a CSC fellowship for first years. We're looking to get more involved in service through the commission and through student government. As well as looking to add additional projects to the CSC network. So I actually met with Daniel from the Brewing Experiment who presented today. We're looking at adding him to the CSC network over the next couple weeks and get him the resources here that we're able to provide in the office. And then also our Facing Project initiative has been established. For those of you that remember last year, it was Facing Access to Higher Education. So we had students come forward and tell their stories about dealing with that issue, and this year the topic is mental health. So we are partnering with SWC and the All of Us campaign, and now that we've established that atmosphere here at UCLA, where students are comfortable talking about it, now it's time to share their stories, so we think it's an appropriate thing to go with for this year. So that's my update for
Any questions? We'll go on to our administrative representatives. Roy? Dr. Robert? Michael Starr? Christine Malcolm? And Kaiser? Okay. We'll go on to our contingency programming applications. So I'll pass it over to our intern FICOM chair, Dr. Wonderman. All right.
The number of groups that applied were 16. The required amount was $21,498.53. Requested $11,002.26. The recommended allocation was $3,842, leaving a balance of $61,622 in contingency.
$842 contingency program allocated.
Is there a second? My turn. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against? And those abstaining? To the 11-0-0 vote, the contingency programming allocation has been approved. We also have the Academic Success Referendum Fund, ASRF. Pass it over to Mr. Penjigawa.
Yes. So we've had two applications for the Academic Success Referendum Fund since the last time we went up. One of which is for the Society of Women Engineers, the Graduate Society of Engineers on a PhD movie night. So overall, they're projecting a total overall cost of $1,322.50. And for something like director, I recommend that for them in particular, we're going to allocate $50. In regards to the second one, which is the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, they're going to be putting on students of color navigating STEM events. They're projecting that their cost is going to be up to approximately $100, and so we're recommending for $100 to $250 and then $100.
Okay, so this is a consent item, so is there any discussion regarding the ASRF allocation? Chuck, can you briefly go over the qualifications again to apply?
Yes. I can go over the bylaws if you all want me to.
Just really briefly, what do you want?
Yeah, so essentially for the Academic Success Referendum Fund, it's an extension reading the guidelines of that. Essentially, to enable students to put on programming events to enable academic success. And so I'm understanding, so for example, for these two allocations, one of them is screening of a PhD student experience, right? So we're encouraging students here at UCLA to further their education, look into not just achieving their bachelor's, but also going on their achieving their PhD. Similarly, with the event of the service navigated students of color navigate STEM, particularly addressing A lot of the times we're representing underprivileged students, and may not have the opportunity to really learn about STEM careers. And essentially showing a lot of students that there are a lot of opportunities, especially in the media, for them to be successful. So that's kind of the background. Again, I recommend all of you was to team and everything like that. No papers as well. And so we can actually have the applications for this year. And so we're moving forward, and we would love to see it more, as well as in discussion we're talking with the campus committee, chairperson, as well as the FI function to look at a more efficient way of doing allocations, as well as more transparent. And so I'll probably be agreeing with the CRC, bylaw change, guideline change, sometime in the future.
Thank you so much for the explanation. Okay, we'll go on. Are there any questions? Okay. So then that consent item. So is there any questions regarding that? All right, seeing none, we'll go on. We have no old business. We do have new business. So committee on budget transparency. This is posted by Trent Kajical. It's tabled from last week, but is on there now as a action item. I'll pass it on to you. It's your turn.
Okay. So in particular, Eric and I had a quick discussion about budget transparency process. And then taking all the information that everyone kind of brought to the table, as well as talking with Wood and getting it together. And just learning more about the structure and what the SGA does and what we as council members can do. Really, I brought forth an action item to go ahead and create an ad hoc committee to really analyze what we're doing now in terms of budget transparency, and to go ahead and make a recommendation for the funding study group, which is technically in charge of it, but it's a streamlined process. Essentially, after kind of looking at what we've done in the past, one of the recommendations and one of the things I would hope that ad hoc committee would investigate is coming up with a quarterly report of USAC offices, as well as looking at potentially other initiatives on campus, looking at what essentially student fees are going to, quarter after quarter after quarter, all winter and then for spring. Essentially, again, this is my conception of it, is that for example, academic affairs commission allocated X amount of dollars through the academic success referendum, X amount of students, or X amount of events that was attended by X amount of students. Essentially, we would be able over time to track the metrics. So, for example, for one of the members of my successor, that is was able to more efficiently allocate ASRF funds because ASRF the year after myself, they put on more events, they reached out to more students. What do they do differently compared to myself? That way we kind of have improvements year over year, especially because a lot of times they may not be coming within individual offices. Again, this is kind of the initial thought I had, but I want to bring what's council with, so we can go ahead and vote on an ad hoc committee. To me, the ad hoc committee would obviously consisting myself, I brought forward to the council, but I've also had the pleasure of having Danny as well as Ian come forward and express interest in terms of learning more about what are we doing for transparent budgets, what are we doing in terms of really holding ourselves accountable to the student body, and then also looking at really the funding study group, and potentially having Zach and Ruth, who we have appreciate going into that committee, to serve on that committee. And obviously, I'm open to anyone else who is interested in serving on this ad hoc committee.
Okay, so the recommendation has been placed forward. So if there's anyone else who would like to be a part of it, you can go ahead and nominate yourself at this point. Anyone else is interested? So it is the two individuals, you had sent out an email a couple weeks ago, correct?
Yes.
And so these are the two that responded to you, and then the funding study group, which we voted on. Is there anyone else who would be interested in being a part of that? Ariel?
Yes, in light of my recent struggles navigating through funding sources available to us, I think it would be beneficial to me, extremely, to be part of this.
Ian?
I just like questions. So should we vote on whether or not to create the committee before we decide to vote?
I concur and move to form an ad hoc committee on budget transparency.
We can do that. So you put a motion on the table. Is there a second? seconded by Danny. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against? Those abstained? Article 1100 vote, the rule by transparency has been created. So now back to who's on it. So the discussion has been, so there's been a recommendation for Dean Siegel, Ian Kokoff, Trent Kazukawa, Rudy Patel, Zach Dameron, and R.L. Rapalian. Was there anyone else who would like to nominate themselves? Okay. So as a chair, I recommend it to council. I propose these individuals to be on it. So again, Danny, Ian, Trent, Zach, Rudy, Ariel. So if someone can make a motion for those individuals to be appointed to that.
I move to approve Danny, Ian, Trent, Zach, Ricky, and Ariel to the newly made ad hoc committee on funding.
Budget transparency. Okay, is there a second? By Zach, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against and those abstained. Okay, to 1100 vote, those individuals have been placed onto the committee. So you all are responsible for yes.
Point of clarification.
Yeah. I see the dear Ron over there. He is on the funding committee. And so those people will be on to that. And at this point, since it is a discussion from council, you all will be appointed that duty to look into that and then come back to council with what you have in the changes. Okay, we'll go on to a resolution in support of the UC Board of Regents Student Advisor proposal. This was posted by Zach Helder, Rosen, and Kajukawa. So traditionally we've had people come up track and read. However, looking back on that, so if you all would really want to go up front. Okay, you are part of this. Come up front and we'll read it.
Which of my thematic voices should I use? Always no, that's not good. Where's the UC board system? Shall we? All right. We all ready for the draft resolution in support of the UC Board of Regents Student Advisor proposal, sponsored by Zachary Allen Hutter, External Vice President, Heather Wilson President, Trent Kajukawa, Academic Affairs Commissioner. Whereas the UC Board of Regents is the governing body of the University of California. Whereas the UC Board of Regents is composed of 26 voting members, 18 members appointed by the Governor of California, serving 12-year terms, 7 ex officio members representing the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Speaker of the State Assembly, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, President and Vice President of the Alumni Association of UC, and President of UC, and one student regent.
Whereas aside from the student regent position, students may actively engage with the Board of Regents through positions of student observer, student advocate to the regents, STARS, and system-wide committee representative.
And whereas not one of these additional opportunities for student representation is afforded voting power, the right to introduce policy or advocate policy at board meetings, or the ability to develop long-term relationships with the regents. Whereas the student regent is therefore the only student with the ability to contextualize conversations that ultimately shape the trajectory of decision-making by the UC Board of Regents.
Whereas the student regent is currently tasked with representing the interests of all 246,000 undergraduate, graduate, and professional students of the UC.
Whereas students were instrumental in the establishment of the student regent position in 1975. Whereas the students of University of California, Los Angeles feel it is within their right to be afforded due representation in the governance model of the university system, of which they are the greatest stakeholders.
Whereas the student regent derives its power from the California State Constitution, and in recognition of the fact that the establishment and additional student regent of the Board of Regents will require a substantial amount of time and funds dedicated to a campaign to amend the California State Constitution.
Let it be resolved that the students of the University of California, Los Angeles endorse the establishment of the student advisor to the UC Board.
Let it be resolved that the student advisor shall be afforded rights and privileges similar to that of the student regent, with the exception of voting power and a one-year term.
Let it be resolved, the non-voting student advisor position shall offer students an additional means of representation on the board, which includes the power to speak at board meetings and develop long-term relationships with the regents.
Let it be resolved that the student advisor shall provide an educational perspective complementary to that of the student regent so as to provide a more holistic representation of the student experience to the Board of Regents.
Let it be resolved that the student advisor selection process shall be led entirely by the students of the university, operating with the University of California Student Association, UCSA, and council presidents, as well as the acting student regent.
Let it be resolved that the student advisor position shall serve to further end of the establishment of additional student regent on the Board of Regents by means of a constitutional amendment.
Let it be resolved that the student advisor position be formally established upon the vote of approval of the majority of the Board of Regents.
Therefore, let it be resolved that the students of California, that the students of the University of California, Los Angeles instructs the regents to approve the student advisor measure without delay and advises all students to voice their support in favor of said resolution.
Great. So usually with resolutions, we have two kind of parts to it. First part, we'll just go through if there's any grammatical errors or changes in words or anything like that. And then we'll go into discussing the bill that's entirety. So Dr. Geller?
A couple things I wanted to suggest, and I don't know if maybe we might have some time to do this while the discussion's going on, but it's best practice when a resolution has statistics or other references to facts to actually have footnotes and citations that are referencing where these numbers, statistics, or citations came from. It would be great if while this review were going on, someone could identify a source that could be added in to that. The second thing I noticed, the language here talks about the students of UCLA rather than USAC. And typically, a USAC resolution is a resolution on behalf of USAC, not the students who aren't all voting. So I would encourage you to consider that type of amendment as well, so that it's clear that it's the voice of USAC that's coming forward.
Do the authors okay with those changes being made? Great, so we have, great, thank you so much. All right, are there any other specific things in regards to the language? Heather?
I would friendly amendment to delete draft in the title.
Zach, do you have the Google Doc?
Yes. Seeing as we have made changes now that were finalized, it seems appropriate not to call them draft. Now,
Do you have the Google Doc version in front of you?
yes.
I have the word on top.
Oh.
Perfect.
It's gone.
Okay, were there any other friendly amendments to, just right now, the grammatical word changes? I have one amendment that I noticed earlier. Instead of council presidents, it's now called the council student body presidents. So, if we can change that. It's at the very, it's like towards the bottom. It's on, right there, yeah. Council student body presidents. Council of student body presidents. Thank you.
And a grammatical bit on, whereas students were instructional.
What line?
Sorry, instrumental. This is it's whereas, 7 whereas down, whereas students were instrumental in the establishment of the student region coalition in 1975, not instrumental of the establishment. There it is.
or
Instrumental.
in, okay, great, thank you. In that, yeah. Okay, on my knees.
Yeah, I just want some clarification in regards to the, third to last letter in resolve. When it says that the resolve of the student advisor positions shall serve to further the end of the establishment of an additional student region on the board of regents by means of the constitutional amendment. There's some clarification.
Yeah, I would also like to amend the language to be more clear there, which is, so the intention of that component of the resolution is to indicate that the student advisor position is a jumping off point, and it's going to be used to leverage a more full-on campaign to amend the Constitution and create a second student region. So perhaps, if it pleases the council, if we could change it to say, let it be resolved that the student advisor position shall initiate an effort to establish an additional student region on the board by means of the Constitution.
So Patty, under the, let it be resolved,
The third to last.
and so what did you recommend against that?
Let it be resolved that the student advisor position shall initiate an effort to establish an additional student region on the board of regents by means.
Oh, sorry. Let's get this one first.
Selection process.
No. There's.
Got it. Yeah. So can you repeat all the time that?
So let it be resolved that the student advisor position shall also serve to initiate an effort to establish an additional student region. And then
Establish.
and then cut further to the end of the establishment of.
Yeah, after establishment. So from establishment to.
Yeah, cut from establishment to further correct to left or further to establishment.
Here. Yeah. So establish, to establish an additional, yeah. So if that's okay, then amendment with the authors, check? Yes. Okay, great. Were there any other friendly amendments regarding the language? Yes.
Just in line with Dr. Geller's suggestion, I propose amending the final, therefore let it be resolved to read, therefore let it be resolved that the Undergraduate Students Association Council of the University of California. So substitute, so strike the word that these students out of this word, that the Undergraduate Students Association Council.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other friendly amendments to the language?
Yeah, just let you all know, we did that as well. First, let me resolve, and then second to last, whereas.
Okay, great. So are there any other amendments to the language specifically? Okay, so you want to, yeah, you.
Sorry, I have one more sort of concern. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th whereas from the top. And it reads, whereas the student is therefore the only student with the ability to contextualize conversations and ultimately shape the trajectory of decision making by the use of word readings. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that any student who makes public comment or is active in blogging UC regions could potentially contextualize conversations and affect decision making for it. Sure, they have a lot less power than the student region, but I don't think the student region is the only student whose voice affects the decision.
Let me change it to, only student with the institutionalized ability to conceptualize conversations.
That's not necessarily the case either, because there are, again, there are, as we listed, the student observers, student advocates in the regions, but these are positions that at least expressly contextualize conversations in an institutional way. I think maybe it's best just to be very clear with what we're referring to and say, whereas the student region is therefore the only student with that physically sits at the table of student region meetings, so maybe there's a better way of saying that.
Lisa, I personally really like the suggestion, looking at this and types of population and, makes it relevant to the fact that decisions are based on matters of student issues, and so I think it's more inclusive to that. So I don't know if I should put it to a vote.
So you prefer to strike the entire thing?
But to Ian's mention of centering the language towards the students in general. Is that what?
Well, I mean, I was just saying that I take issue with your guys' form of it. I agree that, yeah, I think that it should be, if we're going to reform it. Well, all I'm saying is that, yeah, just lose a lot of efforts to students. So either I would prefer to strike it, I'm not making a motion, but I would prefer to strike it, or rephrase it in a way that says, I mean, because the point of this is to basically say, look, right now there's only one student who has actual voting power and can actually participate in those decision-making processes. So,
Well, Trent and Zach.
Can we make an amendment to that whereas, where it reads, whereas the student region is therefore the only student representative on the UC Board of Regents with the ability to contextualize conversations at the table that ultimately shape the trajectory of decision-making by the UC Board of Regents. Now that's repetitive, but I think that hammers on that message there for going on the table, and that they are going to
Can you repeat that one more time?
Whereas the student region is therefore the only student representative on the UC Board of Regents with the ability to contextualize conversations at the table, again, maybe we can make that the table at meetings, that ultimately shapes the trajectory of decision making of the UC Board of Regents.
Okay, so Zach, will come here.
I think that it's a little messy and it's unclear what that whereas is trying to say. And I think that the ultimate idea behind this, and it should be amended, from the outset I'll say that. But I think the idea behind the student advisor proposal in the first place is that the student advisor has full access to the regions in the same way that a regent does, or any other non-voting member of the board does. And maybe it's best, I think the way to address that directly is just to say that, right? It's that the student regent and the student regent designate, because there are two of them physically, have full access to the board of regents in the same manner that a regent does, and no other students possess that. And I think that's much more clear than even the amended language. And I would move to.
Do you want to recommend?
I recommend that we shift the language in that way.
Okay, so do you know specifically what you want to say? You say it one more time for us?
Whereas there are two students, the student region, not whereas, it is whereas. There are two students, a student region and a student region designate, with full access to the region.
Why don't you just remember how you can help us with Dr. Miller's speech?
It's actually he meant where I was going to go, which was, we forgot about the designation.
Right.
And so it's important not to stick with the voting on one. There's only one with a vote, but there are the two who have the same access.
Okay, great. So while Zach is typing that up, are there any other recommendations to the language itself? So should have three students, student advisor is what we're talking about adding. Yeah, it's what they're saying the precedent is already the two. Oh, okay, and then, yeah. Okay, so while Zach is typing out, we can go ahead into this discussion regarding the bill entirety, keep the conversation moving forward, and we'll come back to what Zach is reading. So are there any points regarding the,
Just a question for clarification. Basically, we're just voting for the cost support, but not exactly deciding how we're going to go about it.
right, so it's in support, most other, I don't know exactly where, but a lot of other UC campuses already approved places very similar to this. But it is showing that we want other voice at the table, and that we do want someone else there representing the student perspective, since, as you noticed in the patient, that there's only one guy vote representing 200,000 students. Especially, it's hard to get that person representing graduate and undergraduate girls, PhD professional voices as well. So this is supporting this kind of step to get more representation there. So it is, as you can see, it's only a few pages long, but we kind of talked a little bit earlier about what we're planning on doing.
regards to how to exactly create that advisory position and then the long-term goal of hopefully getting a constitutional amendment to have the regent. Is there any other? So yielding time is actually against Robert's rules. So maybe if you want to like send a message or something, that would be easier, just so you don't break bylaws. Okay, is there any other? Ian?
In terms of adding footnotes, I feel like, are we going to be able to add conditions for this? Should we do that? Are you going to approve the resolution, or should we approve it with the citations, correct?
Yes, so how are we doing the citations? So we have.
Well, let's speak. Okay, so basically, most of this information is on the UC Board of Regents website, and the rest of the information about the different forms of student representation and engagement with the regents is on UCSA website. And I think the UCSA website might be down because it's not, the link is not going. But the index of the UC Board of Regents website is essentially provides all that.
Okay, thank you. Zach, you finish writing the language?
Yes,
Okay,
so whereas there are only 2 students, the student regent and the student regent designate, with full access to the UC regent with respect both to the formal and informal decision process in the manner that voting and non-voting members of the board typically accept. I think that covers all of our bases. It's a long sentence, but all the information is there and I clear and concise.
Okay. Does the other author check, do you feel comfortable with that change?
Yes.
Okay, okay, so we'll go back again to our conversation regarding, so there has been issues been posed that UCSA website is down, so therefore we cannot get all of the citations. So there's 2 ways we can go about that. If you all want to break precedent and not have them, we can do that and vote on it. Or if you all feel more comfortable voting on it with the citations, we can always table it. It is up to the council if you all feel more comfortable doing so. I don't want next to you wondering without you all. Yeah.
My feeling is that while, as a member of the academic community as we all are, I like cited information and it's secure, sort of that security of citation. I think it's also worth noticing that most of this information is not just publicly available, but very publicly available, and citations are typically an academic courtesy that allows sort of for ease of providing evidence on an issue. And this is all fairly, it's not like submerged information, and it wouldn't, I think there would be very little damage done in approving it as it is without citations, but that's just my sense.
Is there anyone who has any dissenting opinion or agrees with that? Or is the citation?
Well, I personally, when they have resolutions with 3 policies, it's much easier when there are citations to get approval and also sort of volume and cost. Personally, I feel more comfortable when there's citations, so I would like to see citations in the resolution.
Okay. And then just to put a little context to this as well, so this resolution, like I said, it's been passed, a very similar one at most of the UC campuses. And so I know it is time sensitive since most of the campuses have already passed it. And I know people proposing it would want to have their own campus student support. So just keep that in mind that it is time sensitive as well. Just like inspiration. Zach?
Yeah, I agree with you. We're going to set a precedent for having this to be a resolution and how it's been done in the past. I would like to maintain consistency with that as well, even if it is something as minor as that, because this is an official representation of us as a body, and for us to do this now and not do it in the future or compare to different in the past, that really brings us down as a body and what we're speaking on when forming these resolutions.
Okay. So, with that being said, would you all feel more comfortable tabling this? I think there is a lot of power to a universal, maybe unanimous vote on this. So would you, those who have expressed discontent with the lack of citation, would you feel more comfortable tabling it? Okay.
Well, in that case, if someone would prefer to do that, we will make a motion. If someone would prefer to issue a vote, we'll also make a motion on that.
I need a promotion director, because I don't know if there's like this, so.
Are you good? Oh, you don't have that, right? Can we do it for a 5-minute recess?
Yeah.
Okay, Zach,
I move for 5 minutes.
there's a second. Wow. So, do you want to amend yours?
So I will, I present the motion. Alright, I present the motion.
Do you want to just amend it?
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll amend my motion. I move for a 10-minute recess.
Okay, second by Trent. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against, those abstaining. All right, 8:47, we'll be back.
We're gonna share the cameras.
Because I literally live on Tiverton and close on my cheese, so after the meeting, I'll just go home and like eat food, so I don't have to pay myself.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
Wait,